This episode of the Everything is a Primary Source podcast is another clip extracted from the archives. This time, a conversation with a drop-in guest named Ted about the 1994 book Lost Moon, which was the basis for the 1995 film Apollo 13. To celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States, the Everything is a Primary Source podcast is taking to the road. This summer, I will travel from Chicago to Colorado Springs, recording place-based podcast episodes and collecting short oral histories from members of the public along the way. This is not a retrospective project. It is a living one, built on the idea that history is not only something we inherit, but something we actively create. Visit everything-history.com/America250 to see how you can get involved in this public history initiative. Welcome to the Everything is a Primary Source podcast, the show where we navigate history through popular culture. I'm your host, Eric Salmonson. I'm a social studies teacher, historian, and pop culture enthusiast. Each episode, I sit down with everyday people to discuss the media, objects, places, and events that shape us and reveal what they say about the past, as well as who we are now. The Everything is a Primary Source podcast is, therefore, your history, my history, our history through popular culture. All right, so I am here with Ted, who's visiting from Chicago, correct?
Correct, Chicago, Illinois.
Awesome. And here we are at Prescott Park in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Are you visiting on vacation here, or do you have family in the area?
Visiting Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine on vacation. My wife does have a friend who moved back to Vermont after living in Chicago, so we've never been here.
What do you think?
Oh, it's really nice. We don't have mountains in Chicago. We just have buildings that pretend to be mountains.
Yeah. Impressive on their own,
Yeah.
on their own right, but it's, I guess, our... did you happen to go through Bennington, Vermont, which has the largest structure in northern New England?
I don't think we did.
You would have seen it. It's the John Stark Victory Monument, which is to commemorate the Battle of Bennington, which didn't actually take place in Bennington, Vermont. It was further down the road in New York.
Oh, I can tell you're a social studies teacher.
It's like this weird blessing and a curse that I have combined, where I just absorb information and...
Cool.
And in the case of what I do here, it's just like I see everything in that context. I'm like, what is this? What's that trash can over there? Tell me about, this time in history. Oh, it's actually a recycling can. So that tells me.
Well, we did drive up to Mount Washington.
Oh, okay.
Up to the top.
How are your brakes on your car now?
The brakes are fine.
Okay.
I figured out low gear.
Yeah.
But it was kind of neat to see that that's where the highest recorded wind speed ever took place. And
it won't be long now before we get it on the news of the temperatures and the winds being recorded there. It's usually around October that they're like, and it's negative 45 on Mount Washington. I'm like, well, yeah, it's on the top of a mountain. Of course it's going to be windy and cold. But yeah, they start doing that pretty early on to tell us winter's coming. But Chicago's no stranger to winter, bad,
True.
cold weather and lots of snow.
True.
So from my table of artifacts, all these different books and CDs and tapes and all sorts of stuff, and I'm glad I brought this one today. I read that book a couple years ago, and I just thought it was great. It's Apollo 13 by Jim Lovell and Jeffrey Kluger. And the copy that I brought has basically the cover of the movie, the Ron Howard movie starring Tom Hanks and Kevin Bacon and Gary Sinise and all those guys on the cover. So clearly a two-prong, trying to get you to buy the book,
right,
and to let you know, kind of a marketing ploy of marketing scheme of saying like, this movie about Apollo 13 this is its source material, is a guy, he himself a primary source of that mission. So he's the one that wrote this, so it's based on that. But you got to meet Jim Lovell, is that right?
I met him. I can't tell you that I remember many details about it, but it was in the Chicago area at a conference of some sort, and I happened to have the hardcover book in my possession, so I knew he was speaking there. I brought the book with me. I asked him to sign it, and he's got some history in the Chicago area after the space program. I know as when I was a child in the 60s, I was really into the space program. I don't remember Mercury. I kind of came into being during Gemini and Apollo, so I kind of remember the story of Apollo 13, but definitely seeing the movie and reading the book kind of reminded me and reinforced my memories.
And the question that I chose so I have a form for those of you listening for the first time. I have a template of questions that I ask, and the question that I, to dissect these, but for these short episodes, we just do one. And the one I chose is, what was the maker's status and role in society? And Jim Lovell and all those guys, and I know he describes in the book about when they were first brought into NASA and, recruited basically out of the different, branches of the military, that they were kind of made fun of by their colleagues of, what are you going to be, a spaceman? Like, what is this? They didn't take it seriously. But definitely by the time Apollo 13 went up, his status, I mean, these guys are like human computers. Like, they're brilliant people.
Yeah, they were the rock stars, so to speak. The Mercury astronauts, and I'm quoting from another movie and book, The Right Stuff, but they were immediately looked up upon by people in the U.S. As just these people that were willing to risk their lives with new technology. I think, getting on top of what used to be a missile, a person never really sat on top of one and asked to be strapped in and sent into orbit. But I think what you're saying, like, by the time they got through Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, say 8 through 12, they had a lot of experience, and then here comes Apollo 13.
Yeah.
And something went wrong.
I think, and he touches on this in the book, if I remember right. He was on, I believe, Apollo 8, and maybe even designed the insignia for that of the 8 going, because they just orbited the moon on that one and then came back.
I appreciate your reminding me of that. Apollo 8, the actual capsule, is in a museum in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And I'm guessing it has something to do with Jim Lovell's connection with the city and living there. And he was a CEO of a corporation, I think.
Okay.
After the space program.
Because when we think of the geography of NASA, we usually think of just Florida and Texas, and that's it. Because of where they launch them, and then where from this story, the famous Houston, we have a problem from Mission Control, and but in reality, that entire program recruited and needed the entire country behind it. Thousands of people, minds. From MIT and from, University of Chicago, I'm sure, and Northwestern, I'm sure, was, contributing in some way or another to it. So it's like the actual mission itself, not even the book, but the mission is so much like a product of where the country was technologically, scientifically. All the advanced minds were on this program. And so I feel like I if you don't mind just popping that book open and seeing when the publication date of the book itself.
Yeah, sure. I can check that.
I know that one would come out with the movie, but I wonder what the original publication was.
Yeah, this one is 1994.
Yeah, that would be for the movie.
Copyright 1994. First pocketbooks printing July 1995.
Oh, okay.
So we're coming on 30 years for the movie and the book.
And does that check out about around the time that you saw him in person?
That probably sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think you're right. The astronauts, when they selected the astronauts, not only were they the top pilots and top reputations in the military, but they were engineers. They were smart people. Yeah. They knew science. Other than weeding out women, which weren't allowed in the program at that time, you're right. These were the top people in science and technology, and they knew about flight, and they were selected, and they came through, especially in Apollo 13 in an emergency situation.
And that, I think, brings up a good reason to talk about here. And I just want to bring up that the movie Hidden Figures came out a couple years ago and shed light on people who, women, African American women who were very part of the program out of Virginia, but didn't get the recognition till later. But by 1994, when this book comes out, and then shortly thereafter the movie, 1995, it says something that I don't think most people, without watching that movie, like I wouldn't have known as a kid, Jim Lovell. But Ron Howard, who directed it, and Tom Hanks has had a major role in bringing, in that era, he produced a HBO series called From the Earth to the Moon, which is all about the various space, Apollo and other space programs. And like it, because in that era, we were on a new precipice with the internet. I remember cloning was talked about a lot, like this new frontier of, as we're approaching the 21st century, this is what we're going to be doing next. And so stories about things going wrong, but getting it back where it should be. And, 'cause as they say in the movie, and I think it's in the book somewhere, like, this will be our darkest moment. No, this will be our proudest day. If we can get these guys after this debacle safely home, it's going to say something. And so gave kind of confidence for the 1990s.
I think
moving
the
forward.
only quote that I really remember from the book or the movie or the transcript is something to the effect of, okay, we have the LEM, which is the Lunar Exploration Module, attached. We still have the LEM attached. Let's not blow the whole mission.
Yeah.
In other words, they were saying, we've got a lifeboat if we need it.
Yep.
We've got systems that are still running on one of the two vehicles at least, and we have all of our brains and all the engineers and
all the guys back home,
right?
Working
it's a great
on this
story.
Because when you see the images of all the guys working on it, it's like, dazzling to think that they were all the reason why they were able to do that. I know you got to go check on the car. I hope you enjoy the show tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by for podcast karaoke. And
thanks. I hope a lot of people listen.
Yeah.
I hope a lot more people listen, and I hope it'll
absolutely
pan out into some of the other museums, especially where we are in the Midwest.
Spread the word.
Thank you.
That was a great TED Talk. It may have taken a few years, but my guest's wish is about to come true. I will be beginning my week-long oral history collecting road trip in his native Chicago this June. You'll be able to catch me at the Museum of Broadcast Communications on June 28th, and there will be plenty of displays, artifacts, and other amazing TV and radio materials on hand to inspire more conversations about time and place. Check out everything-history.com/America250 to learn more about this and see how you can get involved.